All right, today we're diving into something pretty unique.
Yeah.
It's called Siva's Patha. Have you heard of this?
I have. It's fascinating.
So it's like this, well, it's a
Right.
community-based way of life
Yeah.
inspired by the teachings of Siva Swamigal.
Mm,
And it's all about shifting from, how we typically live, like very transactional, everything's about money,
great.
to a way of life that's based on love and caring.
Yeah.
And I think that's where things get really interesting because
Absolutely.
we have some excerpts here about
Right.
Siva
Yeah.
Swamigal himself and the Siva Foundation that's
Yeah.
carrying on his work, and then this blog post,
Okay.
which is called Siva's Patha, Nurturing Conscious Living.
It's a great read. What strikes me about this whole concept is that it's not just some abstract theory.
Yeah.
It's rooted in the life and teachings of a real person, Siva Swamigal.
Right.
Now, he was a revered Vasi Siddha,
Oh.
which, for those who might not be familiar, is a type of spiritual guide in South India. And they're known for their profound wisdom
Okay.
and a deep connection with nature.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So this guy, Siva Swamigal, he dedicated over 40 years of his life
Yeah.
to serving his community near Chidambaram.
Right.
And he was known for, like, just doing these simple but powerful acts of kindness,
Like what?
like distributing buttermilk to people,
Wow.
offering meals to anyone in need.
It's beautiful.
And what's amazing is even though he passed away in 2008,
Okay.
his legacy still lives on at the Siva Adhistanam temple.
So it's from this legacy that the idea Siva's Patha emerges. And what's fascinating is how the blog post lays out this four-layered structure
Oh.
where each layer aims to minimize the role of money in our daily lives.
So like different levels of like getting away from money.
Exactly.
Okay, well, can we break those down? Because I'm a little lost.
So picture this.
Okay.
You have the outermost layer, right?
Okay.
This is the one that's still pretty connected to the outside world.
Right.
And it operates on a mix of things. Okay. So 50% is your typical monetary transactions, buying and selling.
Right.
25% is barter.
Okay.
And then 25% is what they call love and sharing.
Interesting.
Now, this love and sharing part is specifically with the innermost layer.
Okay.
It's like they're easing into this new way of being
Right.
while still kind of dipping their toes in the conventional system.
Oh, I see. I see.
So then we move inward to the outer layer, where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
So now only 25% of interactions involves money.
Okay. Less money.
And it's split, right?
Yeah.
Some of it's still with the outside world.
Oh.
Some of it's with that innermost layer.
I see.
Another 25% relies on bartering.
Okay.
And then another 25% functions on love and sharing, but within the inner layer.
Wow. Okay. So it's like as you move closer to the core of the community, the
Exactly.
dependence on money
Decreases?
decreases. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it really challenges how we think about value
Yeah,
and exchange.
Totally. And then there's the innermost layer where, as I understand it,
There's no money at all.
none whatsoever.
So it's purely...
It's 50% barter
Okay.
and 50% love and sharing.
Now, how does that even work in practice?
That's the question, isn't it?
Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
Instead of relying on, dollars and cents,
Yeah?
imagine a community where half of your needs are met through direct exchange.
Okay.
So you might offer a skill that you have,
Like what?
let's say gardening,
Okay.
in exchange for someone else's expertise. Maybe they're a carpenter,
I get it.
right?
So you're trading skill.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the other half of your needs, those are met through a foundation of generosity and mutual support.
Okay, so it's like a mix of...
It's a complete paradigm shift
Right.
from how we typically think about things.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds almost utopian.
It does.
But the blog post did mention real-life examples
Right.
of communities actually doing this.
Yeah, it's out there.
But what's not clear to me is how love and sharing actually function.
Like, how do you measure that? Like, how does
Yeah.
that translate into, feeding your family
It's a big question.
or having a roof over your head?
Yeah, and it's where the blog post, while insightful,
Yeah.
kind of leaves those practical details
Yeah.
open-ended.
Right. It's like, okay, this is the big idea,
Here are the principles,
but how do you,
but the how-to
how do you actually do it?
is less clear.
And, it's interesting because they talk about this layered structure, which really highlights the shift away from money.
Yeah.
And it's making me think about the 5 core principles of the Siva Foundation.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So they talk about celebrating love, right, as like a central value.
Okay.
And then seeing everyone as family, practicing non-expectancy, aligning with traditional culture,
Mm,
and
I'm following you.
simplifying things through technology.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if you see those principles
Yeah.
reflected in how Siva's Patha is structured.
Oh, absolutely. Like celebrating love, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That aligns perfectly with that whole love and sharing idea.
Right.
And then, that concept of inclusive family.
Yeah.
It resonates with the whole community-driven aspect.
Yeah.
And then non-expectancy,
Yeah.
that could relate to moving away from those transactional mindsets.
Oh, that's a good point. And then cultural integration, maybe that's like grounding it in tradition.
It could be.
Right. And that might influence how these layers actually work.
In the real world, yeah.
But what I'm stuck on is the simplification through technology part.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't relying on technology kind of contradict
I see what you mean.
this idea of getting away from, a complex
Right, the system.
e-system? Yeah.
Seems like a paradox.
Yeah.
But maybe, and this is just me speculating,
Yeah.
maybe the idea is to leverage technology,
Yeah.
not for, financial transaction,
Okay.
but for connection and community building.
Oh, interesting.
So imagine using platforms to, coordinate bartering networks
Oh,
or to share resources or organize community events.
I see what you're saying.
It's like flipping the script on how we think about technology.
Yeah, instead
Yeah.
of using it to, buy more stuff,
Exactly.
you're using it to connect with people.
To empower the community.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And, the blog post actually highlights potential benefits
Oh, yeah.
in terms of, economic, social, environmental sustainability.
Right.
Imagine minimizing inequality,
Yeah.
promoting sustainable consumption,
Wow.
and reducing all that environmental damage that comes with our current model.
Okay, so that's like a pretty powerful vision.
It is, but
Yeah.
let's be real.
Yeah.
Transitioning to a system like this,
Yeah.
that's not an easy feat.
No, I mean,
How do you unravel, centuries
Yeah.
of economic structures and social norms?
It's like, where do you even begin?
And the blog post acknowledges that.
Oh, it does.
But it emphasizes the importance of tools, strategies, and collective action.
Okay, so what are those tools and strategies?
It's where,
And how do you get people to buy into this?
yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Because it seems so different
Right.
from what we're used to.
And that's where we need to dig a little deeper.
Okay, let's do it.
And we'll explore those questions further after a quick break.
Okay, so it sounds like, going from our current system to something like Siva's Patha,
Right.
it would be huge.
It would be a monumental undertaking.
Yeah.
And the blog post mentions tools and strategies and collective action,
Yeah.
but it's not very specific.
Right.
Right.
So what are some actual steps that,
Right.
like people could take or communities could take?
Yeah, to start moving in that direction.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The blog post seems to suggest that,
Okay.
widespread, everybody doing this
Right.
isn't necessarily the goal.
Oh,
It's more about
okay.
incorporating these elements
Right.
into our own lives and communities.
Yeah. So instead of trying to change everything overnight,
Exactly.
it's more about kind of these baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps towards a more
Yeah.
love-centered way of being.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
So the emphasis is on starting with those who really resonate with this,
Okay.
with the vision. So gather.
Find your people.
Yeah, find your people.
Yeah.
Those who are like-minded,
Right.
who really see the value in this,
Yeah.
in moving away from the transactional way of life.
Okay. So you've got your group,
Yeah.
and then you kind of, I guess, take stock of
Right, you take inventory
yeah.
of the resources within that group.
Okay.
What skills do people have?
Yeah.
What knowledge, what assets?
What can they bring to the table?
Yeah, what are their gifts?
Okay, so you've done that. Now what?
Well, then it's about
Yeah.
setting up practical systems,
Okay.
structures
Yeah.
that facilitate the exchange of goods and services
Okay.
outside of that traditional monetary framework.
So are we talking about setting up a barter system?
That could be part of it.
Okay.
You might create a platform where people can offer and request help or resources.
So a digital bulletin board.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
Okay.
Where somebody says, hey, I can help with childcare.
Okay.
And someone else says, well, I can teach basic car maintenance.
Okay.
And they connect.
And they barter
Yeah, they find that synergy.
based on their needs.
Exactly.
I like it. And then, of
And
course.
then we can't forget that love and sharing piece.
Right. Right. Because that's in every layer.
It is. It's fundamental.
Yeah.
So this is where fostering a culture of generosity
Okay.
and gratitude becomes super important.
Yeah.
It's about celebrating those acts of giving freely,
Right.
recognizing their value beyond any immediate return.
So how do you encourage those acts of giving
Yeah.
without making it feel forced or like
That's the key.
transactional?
It's about, leading by example, demonstrating the joy and fulfillment
Yeah,
that come from contributing to the well-being of others.
right.
And you create a ripple effect,
Oh, okay.
inspiring others to do the same.
I see. Okay. And then maybe like share stories
Yeah, share stories
of the people doing that.
that highlight the impact
Yeah.
of that love and sharing.
Okay. So make it like tangible and relatable.
Exactly. So creating that culture
Yeah.
where giving is just a natural expression of
Yeah.
care.
Right. But even in the most like well-intentioned communities,
Of course.
conflicts happen.
Absolutely.
So how would a community operating on these principles approach, like
Yeah.
conflict resolution?
That's a great question. The blog post suggests exploring alternative methods
Okay.
that focus on repairing harm and finding solutions that benefit the whole community.
So what, like mediation?
Mediation could be one approach.
Okay.
Restorative justice practices,
Mhm.
those emphasize understanding, forgiveness,
Right.
reaching a resolution that gets to the root of the conflict.
So it's not about punishment.
No.
It's about like reconciliation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Restoring harmony.
But that requires like a lot of
It
maturity.
requires a high level of emotional maturity
Yeah.
and a willingness to engage in open and honest dialogue.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not.
And it seems like transparency would be like
Oh, absolutely.
super important.
Transparency is key.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be on the same page
Yeah.
about the values and principles
Yeah.
that underpin the community.
Right. And also
Yeah.
being honest about the challenge.
Yes, being real
Yeah.
about the limitations. This isn't a utopia.
Right. Right.
It's not going to magically erase all of our
Human flaws.
human flaws and societal issues.
Right. It's like being realistic,
Yeah.
but also optimistic.
Holding that balance between
Mhm.
realism and hope.
Yeah. Okay. So the blog post also mentioned
Mm-hmm.
time banks and gift economy as examples of alternative models.
Yeah.
Can you explain those a little bit more?
Sure. So a time bank is a system where people exchange their time and skills directly
Okay.
without involving money.
So it's like bartering, but with time?
It's like bartering, but time is the currency.
Okay.
So imagine offering an hour of your time to help someone with their taxes,
Oh, okay.
and you earn an hour of someone else's time to help you with gardening.
Interesting.
Time becomes the medium of exchange.
But how do you, like, practically speaking,
Yeah.
track everyone's time and make sure it's fair?
Right. That's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
You need careful design,
Yeah.
clear guidelines for valuing different contributions.
Yeah, because what if someone's offering, like, a really specialized skill?
Exactly.
It's in high demand, and someone else is offering something that's,
More general.
yeah, more general.
You got to figure out how to balance that.
Okay, what about gift economies?
So gift economies are all about giving freely without expecting that immediate or equal return.
So it's like a pure gift.
It's about fostering that culture of generosity and reciprocity.
Okay.
So instead of buying a gift for your friend's birthday,
Right.
you might bake them a cake
Okay.
or help them with a project
Right.
out of a genuine desire to contribute to their well-being.
I mean, that sounds great.
It's a beautiful concept.
But I'm wondering, how do you prevent people from
Yeah.
taking advantage?
That's the challenge with any system
Right.
that relies on trust and social norms.
Yeah.
It's about building that community
Right.
where people understand that their well-being
Yeah.
is interconnected
Yeah.
with the well-being of the whole.
So it's less about, like, rules.
Well, it's about strict rules.
Yeah.
More about fostering that understanding.
Yeah. Okay. But what about people who can't contribute in the same way?
Right.
Like people who are, facing hardship or.
That's where the principles of love and caring really come into play. The idea is to create that safety net,
Okay.
recognizing that everyone has something valuable to offer,
Yeah.
even if it's not immediately apparent.
Right. Right.
It's about fostering that sense of belonging
Yeah.
so that everyone feels valued and supported.
Okay. So this all sounds very idealistic.
It does.
And I'm still a bit skeptical about
Yeah.
how it would work on a large scale.
It's a valid concern.
Like, how do you address, power imbalances or
Mhm.
conflict
Right.
or even just human selfishness?
Those are all legitimate questions.
Yeah.
And the blog post acknowledges
Okay.
that Siva's Patha is not a quick fix.
Right.
It's an ongoing experiment,
Okay.
a journey
Yeah.
towards a more conscious and compassionate way of living.
So it's not about achieving like a perfect end state.
It's about the process
Yeah.
of continuous learning and adaptation.
Okay, but then how do you know
Yeah,
if you're moving in the right direction?
right. How do you measure success?
Yeah, in a system that values
Yeah.
like love and sharing and community well-being.
It's a great question. We need to shift our focus from purely economic indicators
Oh, yeah.
to a broader set of metrics.
Okay. So like what?
Are people happier?
Oh, okay.
Are they experiencing more fulfillment?
Yeah,
Are relationships stronger?
I see.
Is there a sense of shared purpose and belonging?
So it's about looking beyond just like money
Exactly.
and considering like the social,
And social, emotional, even spiritual.
even the spiritual well-being of
Yeah.
the community.
Okay, this has been like so interesting.
So the fascinating topic.
It's like we've been looking at the world
Yeah.
through a different lens.
It's a paradigm shift
Yeah.
in how we think about things.
Yeah, but how do you convince people who are so used to the current system?
Right, who are entrenched
Yeah.
in the way things are.
To even consider this.
That's probably the biggest challenge of all.
Yeah.
It requires a shift in consciousness.
A willingness to question our assumptions
Yeah.
and to embrace new possibilities.
Okay, so how do you foster that shift?
Well, that's where
It sounds like fostering that shift in consciousness is really like the key.
it's foundational
Yeah.
to even beginning to build something like this.
Yeah, but how do you even plant those seeds of change?
Well, the blog post emphasizes the
Yeah.
power of stories,
Okay.
real-life examples
Okay.
of individuals and communities
Okay.
who are embracing these principles
Yeah.
and experiencing those benefits.
So it's like show, don't tell.
Exactly. Create spaces
Yeah.
where people can experience these principles firsthand
Yeah, okay.
and see how they translate into a more fulfilling life.
So like what kind of spaces are we talking about?
Well, imagine like community gardens
Okay, yeah.
where people are sharing their knowledge in their harvest,
Okay.
or skill sharing workshops
Yeah,
where neighbors are teaching each other practical skills.
I like that.
These initiatives
Yeah.
create those tangible experiences
Right.
that can shift perspectives
Yeah, those are good examples.
and inspire further action.
But I'm still kind of like grappling with the practicalities of it all. Like,
Right.
how do you actually build and
Oh, yeah.
sustain
Yeah.
a community based on these principles in,
In the real world.
real world, where it seems like
Yeah.
there's so much resistance to change.
Right, and that's where the idea of community organizing comes in.
Okay.
It starts with identifying that core group
Okay.
who are passionate.
Find your tribe.
Yes, find your tribe.
Yeah.
Those who are really willing to dedicate their time and energy.
Okay, so you've got your passionate people. Then what?
Well, then it's about working together
Yeah.
to assess the needs and resources within that community.
So, like, what are the challenges?
What are the challenges people are facing?
Yeah.
What are the skills and knowledge and assets that already exist?
Okay, and what needs to be created?
Yeah. Exactly what systems and structures
Yeah.
need to be put in place.
Okay, so it's like collective brainstorming.
It is. It's drawing on the wisdom
Yeah.
and creativity of the community.
And I guess there's no one right way to do it.
There's no blueprint.
Okay.
What works in one place might not work in another.
So flexibility is important.
Flexibility and adaptation are essential.
This has been a really, really interesting conversation.
It's a fascinating topic.
It really has. We've gone from, the life and teachings of Siva Swamigal
Yeah.
to this model for conscious living.
You see this Patha.
Yeah, and it's really made me think differently about how we relate to money and community.
Even ourselves.
Yeah, even ourselves.
It's a profound concept.
And it's radical.
It is.
But I think there are some really valuable lessons here
Tells a loop.
for everyone, whether or not they're ready to
Right.
fully embrace this vision.
It's about taking those principles
Yeah.
and seeing how they can apply
Yeah.
to our own lives.
So for you, listening, what does this all mean?
Yeah, what resonates with you?
Maybe this has sparked something.
Yeah, maybe a desire
Yeah.
to explore alternative ways of living.
Or to connect more deeply with your community.
Or simply to bring more love and sharing into your everyday life.
Yeah. Remember Siva Swamigal's example?
Of selfless service,
Yeah, and that enduring power.
of love
Yeah.
and compassion.
What small steps could you take today
Yeah, what's one
to
thing
move towards that?
you could do differently
Yeah.
to embody those principles?
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, share your insights.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.